right. What's your full name?
Harold Philip Mills.
And you go by Phil Mills.
Right.
Right. Okay. Well, where were you born and when?
I was born in 1956. And I was born in Millersville Hospital. I was born and raised in Toonsville, Georgia.
Right. Your parents are?
Alan Mills, Ellen and Betty Rose Mills.
Right. And how was life in Toonsboro?
It was pretty laid back. It was a good life. We grew up working a good bit. Grandparents owned a country store, so they killed their own, cows and hogs. So I grew up around a chicken farm and stuff like that.
Nice.
Learned to work really young age.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any favorite memories from back then?
Probably growing up, we had a lady that kept us. When Mom and Dad were working, she would keep us. And our granny lived down the street where my office is today. And after her husband died, she was there by herself, so we could always use her excuse. We needed to go see her, so we couldn't go during the day. And I remember we'd sneak through the woods and cross the road and go tell her to call the house to get us to come down, and we'd sneak back up to the house with Lily, we knew we'd get in trouble, got caught, but we always loved to go to Granny's. So. And she would always get us down there during the day, get us, that was always pretty good.
Yeah. And, wasn't there a story about how she taught you how to fish or hunt?
My grandmother, my granddaddy was a sheriff of Washington County for 25 years. And his wife, which was my mother's mother, she taught me how to squirrel hunt. She took me squirrel hunting the first time. My dad took me dove hunting. And then a lady down on some land we had a pond on, called High Tower Pond. This lady that lived down there, drove a bus. She took me deer hunting the first time, so I used to deer hunt with her. So I learned to hunt with different people.
So, what school did you go to when you were little?
Well, I actually had a school in Toonsboro up through the 3rd grade.
Okay.
And then in the 3rd grade, I think it was, we moved to Irwinton. I had a school there. We stayed in school there to the 6th grade. And then we became a county school, Wilkes County. And we went to the Wilkes County school system.
Okay.
So I graduated.
When did you graduate?
74.
Okay. Nice. Do you have any favorite teachers, favorite subjects?
Math was always my favorite subject. I couldn't stand English and didn't care anything about history or none of that. Didn't like reading, never liked to read. But I love math. I was intrigued with math. I could answer math questions before she finished writing them on the board. I could give them answers to it without doing equations or anything. I could work them out in my head. She always told me I'd get in trouble in college with that because I'd have to come back and get tutors. And I did. It was Edwina Thompson. She was a wonderful teacher.
What was about her?
She take time to work with you and talk to you. She liked me a lot because my dad was school superintendent during that time, my last year of school, and she was just very. I had Miss Belinda Daniels was a great teacher. Miss Mosley was another one. Miss Hall, Betsy Hall. I remember those 4 teachers. Pretty good, But Miss Thompson probably was my favorite because she taught the subject I liked the best, math.
Yeah. What the other ones teach?
One taught science, one taught, Miss Betsy Hall taught French, and then she taught English, but I couldn't stand any of that.
I understand. So, how did you get into the construction business? How did that start?
Like I said, I always liked working, so when I was 12, we had a blueberry orchard, and I used to pick blueberries and we'd sell them. And we had a little garden beside our house, and we grew peanuts, and we would pull the peanuts. My dad, at that time, we was young, worked at a Chevrolet, owned a Chevrolet place. And he'd come home, we was 6th, 7th grade, and we'd pull the peanuts off and boil them, and we'd go downtown and sell them, walk downtown on Saturdays and sell little bags of peanuts. So I always worked, and then when I got to be 15, the construction company, there was doing a bunch of work at these Chuck Kelvin mines, and they had an advertisement for workers. The only way you could work if you was 15 if your guardians would sign a piece of paper. So I kept begging my mom and dad. They finally signed it to go to work. Then me and 3 of my buddies went to work the same day. First week, 2 of them quit. And the next week, the other one quit. And then the next week, I was wanting to quit because I weighed 127 pounds and was running 95-pound jackhammer.
Wow.
And it was like tough. And so when I came home, I tried to tell my mom it was killing me. I couldn't, and I was playing tennis in high school. And I kept telling her it was going to make me where I couldn't play tennis running that jackhammer. And she said she didn't care what it did. I wasn't quitting because I begged them for a month. And I'm going to finish the summer out doing it. It was a summer job. So I finished the summer out and I ended up working at a ring from then on. Yeah.
So how did your business start?
Well, I worked there for that same man till I was 24. And then we had a disagreement about he put me on salary and I was hourly working, and so some things happened. Anyway, he said some things. He sort of took me for granted. Been there so long, and I was real strong-willed, strong-headed, So we had a little collide, and I told him I'd have to leave. That's where it's gonna be. So he told me to hit the road, so I left. And the same night, I got home the next day. I had a company call me, come talk to them. They knew about me, and then Gary Harvest, the guy who goes to church, me owned 7 or 8 businesses, and he called me up, and he ended up financing me, put me in business for me. So I started the business there, and me going through the business.
Yeah.
And he financed me for about that was in '81, and then in '83, '84, me and another guy bought out the business I had with Gary and another business. We went together, and then me and him ran into some issues. He was doing some things he shouldn't be doing, so we didn't. Anyway, I left there and went business right by myself in '86. And then after 5 months, the man I used to work for growing up, my brother worked for him and another guy, and they called me and asked me if I'd come back and go in business for them because they needed me to come run it, really. So I didn't really want to, but my dad taught me into doing it because he said it'd be good to work with your brother,
Right.
instead of working against him. So I did. And then after about 5 years, we were going through a lot of things, and I was going to buy one of them out because it wasn't working out like it was. So they decided to buy me out. So I left in '91 and went business for myself again. I left them in February 14th, 1991, and I've been working for myself ever since. And they went bankrupt about 2 years later, and now my brother, he came back to work for me, so he works for me now, my older brother. So it's sort of been a circle. I moved away for those 3 years, so I wouldn't compete against them.
Yeah.
And when they went under, I came back and been working, in the Georgia area ever since. We travel about a 2-hour radius, so we try not to travel any further than that. But I've been totally blessed. God has just really overwhelmingly blessed me.
Yeah. Now, what determines who you hire? Like, is there any?
Well, the need of the job, but I grew up working where he would hire people as he need them and let them go and hire them as need them. And I never liked that. If I hired somebody, I wanted to always have them a job. So I let my men work 48 and 50 hours every week so they can make some overtime.
Right.
Even when things were tough, I still like to let them make a little overtime. And I don't like laying people off. I didn't even lay a man. I never laid a person off that I know of until, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And maybe 5 years, I can't remember. But laid 4 or 5 people off that year. But I just always had plenty of work, and I kept my guys busy. That's when I keep the guys. I've been working, me and one guy been working together 40 years.
Wow.
Yep. When I was 15, he was 17. We started at the same time. I'm 55, he's 57. And every time I ever quit to come and work for, he quit and went wherever I went. And he works for me now. We call him Sweet. Yeah. And he never had a driver's license.
Wow.
And someone's had to pick him up and get him to work all the time. But he's just as good a worker as you want to have. Just a good worker. So it's cool what kind of job we're doing, but we've been really blessed. We've got some really big jobs, and so I got a good group of people that know what to do. I got some great foremen. I got my brother's a foreman, 2 or 3 more guys. I got a foreman. I got one guy's been with me a long time. Bo Johnson's his name. He does all the main big projects. He's we work good together. He's gonna be on time every day. He's dependable. You ain't got to worry about he's not doing the best for me and him, and that's the main thing about a person working in this industry today is having someone you know is looking out for your interests,
Right.
And then if he's looking after yours, if you're the kind of person you ought to be, then you're gonna look after his. It works that way, you know. So it's been real fortunate.
So what kind of construction work do you do? Like,
We do, like, we do a lot, we used to do a lot of different things coming up. I poured driveways, patios, carports. We, in Middlesville, Georgia, we poured a parking deck, we poured onto the hospital walls and built the dugout outside the baseball field. You know, we just doing different things. But mainly in the last years, we've, when I went to Augusta in '91, I ended up working there for 3 years and built a plant for Procter & Gamble. And Carbo Ceramics, a company, moved to Wilson County, and they built 5 plants since '96. I built all 5 of them. And I'm doing a plant right now as we speak in Rennes, Georgia, and it's got 10, 12, 15,000 yards of concrete. We're doing all that. So, like I'm saying, really blessed. We got a big job at the paper mill. We put in we do whole jobs. We go in. If you're gonna put a new plant up, we put all the foundations and all the structure, all the piers. Used to have a steel company. I sold it out 5 years ago to Tommy Young's, another guy that worked with me. He's working 25, 30 men now. He's wide open. He's doing great too. He worked with me for about 12, 14 years. And so he wanted to get out for himself, so I just sold him my business. And you know, I'd let him do that and me have to compete against him, you know.
now, this is completely change of gears, but like, how did you meet Mrs. Christie?
She was, the first time I really remember knowing her, I was in 8th grade. She was homecoming queen. And she was everything, you know, just in the school, Miss Christie was it, you know what I'm talking about? So being an 8th grader, she was really it. So we could buy, the 8th graders could buy seniors that year, and they'd have to touch your books for you. You could pay $1, $50 or whatever, and get them to touch your books for a day. So I remember bidding on Christie, I got her to touch my books, you know, I remember that. And then I never saw her anymore. She graduated and went on. And then 5, 6 years later, when I was about 22, I reckon, I went to a B team. I heard she was at a B team. We go to watch the B team game for her. One of her friends helped coach or something. And so I went out to the B team game. My dad was school superintendent, so I had a reason to be there. So I just went up there and I actually had been seeing her sister a little bit, visiting, talking to her some. So I went by and knew her through some mutual friends. And so I just sat at the ball game with her and talked to her. And ended up hanging out with her a little bit. We started dating a little bit, and one thing led to another. Ended up one day getting married. It was crazy.
When did y'all get married?
Oh, in 19, 31 years ago. Was married 31 years in October 30.
Oh wow, okay.
Excuse me. March 30. Until I'm getting old, I get my days messed up.
It's alright.
March. You know, 3 of us got married within real close, 28, 29, 30.
Wow. Same year or different years?
Yeah, well, 2 of them same year, 1 different years. Yeah. Paul and Glenn, 28.
Okay.
A friend of mine, Nicky Montgomery, was 29. So crazy.
Wow. Now you have, okay, Josh, Justin, and
Kristen.
Okay.
Justin has I have one grandson by Justin and Maggie, Maddox. Then my oldest grandson is by Kristen. And that's and Matt, and that's a boy named Noah. He's 2 years and 4 months. Proud of both of them. Just excited. They have all the grandkids they want to have me. That's what I tell them.
It's a good thing to tell your kids. Yeah.
Oh, you can't have too many.
I believe it. What's been your favorite thing about grandkids?
Yeah, I think sort of, you know, sort of like all the time I was working, I look back